Alright, how's it going, you guys? So this is part 3 of the plyInventory system, and we're going to be going over the canvas setup, the inventory slots, basic information, vendor tooltip, and load a save system. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So this is the main menu of our game. It's a simple canvas with 3 buttons, right? First button, new game. What it's going to do is it's going to set the scene, and the scene is a string on, it's going to find the script, and this is very inefficient, but it's basically just for demo purposes because we only have a few objects in the scene, so it's not a big deal. But do know any find block that you use or any find method that you use when you're scripting is inefficient, right? You usually just want a direct reference if possible. But we're not worried about that right now. So what we're doing is we're setting scene on our load scene holder to plyDemo, and plyDemo is a scene that we have in the build settings. It's called plyDemo, right? So that's the name of our scene. That's the scene we want to load. In the load scene is a script called, there's a string called scene, right? It's empty because we do want to leave it empty, right? We want to set it manually. Okay, so what this is going to do is this is going to load our asynchronous load menu, right? So in my, I saved the scene, in my build settings here, right? Let me just delete the main ones here. So in my build settings, my load async scene is at the very bottom, right? It's not, we kind of really don't want to put it in any specific load order for now. But yeah, it's basically just in there, right? And that scene is specifically going to look for this script just as it looks for it in here, and it's going to look for that value. So that way when we press the little icon, at the bottom of our screen indicator, it's going to know what scene it needs to load specifically, right? So that's why this is set to do not destroy on load, and that's specifically in the script, and we actually see that right here. And it's using the singleton design pattern, so you guys can see it's a static load scene holder, which is the script itself, and it's set to instance, most popular variable name to put it, right? And then we set scene to equal nothing, which is string.empty, and then we check if instance is not equal to null, which it should always be, right? Except when it is set to don't destroy on load. So if basically if there is an instance of this game object in the scene, destroy ourselves, because that means we're just a duplicate at that point, right? So since this is something that is set to don't destroy on load, so we don't need 2 of these at any point in time, right? It's just going to cause problems. So that's what this whole little start method does right here. The start function, I'm sorry. It's basically just checking if there is no instance of this, set the instance to this, and then set it to not destroy on load. And if there is an instance, destroy ourselves, and let's return. So that's basically the simple script for the singleton there. But yeah, back to the new game button. So the new game button simply has an on click that looks at the apply blocks for this button here, and it simply looks for the method or the event called new game, which is this right here. And then so we set scene on that script, which is the string, to plyDemo. We set the load parameter, which is a global variable, right? So these are the only globals that you need for this demo to work. So I probably should have showed you guys this in like a prerequisite video, because you do need do need these 2 tags and layers, and they can be on any index. They don't need to be on 11 or 12 because it just looks for the name, not the index. So yeah, set this up right now. So while we're here, so just create a layer called item and a layer called item bagged. And if you want the demo to work, it does need to be on 11 and 12 because that's what I have my items set to. So the items are going to be looking for those layers specifically. So do know if you do change these from the indexes, just go to my prefabs for all my items, which should be imply items. Just go through all of them and set their layers set them just all to item, which is the default for items. But yeah, now that that's out of the way, basically we're setting a load parameter, and it's at a default of 99, because when are we ever going to have 99 saves? And we just keep new game to true, right? This is the default that we're just setting when we start our game, right? And basically what that's going to do is it's going to say, okay, we're setting the load parameter to 0, and this is for my custom load save system, not the one that's pre-built into the player prefs for plygame, right? Setting that parameter to 0. So we're going to be saving to slot 0 if we do save in this new game, right? And it's setting new game to true. We're resetting the last load, so we're clearing all the plygame information from our last save, I believe, or our last load. We're deleting all of the save data from the load save system. This is obviously something you might not want to do if you don't want a destructive new game, right? So watch out for this block here when you're creating your own stuff. And then we basically set it to load async level, and it is in the build settings. So you just need to click that button right down there. So everything's a-okay. We're good to go with all this, right? If you have any questions on this, just let me know in the comments below. But it's pretty straightforward. Load game. Load game is basically just going off of load parameter. So setting load parameter to 0. We know this is no longer a new game, obviously, because we're loading a game. So if for some reason our load parameter is still 99 and our new game is set to true, set it to 0, because we're always working off the first index slot, which starts at 0, and this is a new game. So set that to 0, set to false. Then this is part of Leslie's load save system. We also set his slot to 0. So my slot to 0, his slot to 0. And then we just trigger an event called load after 0.1 seconds. This is just convenience, mind you. And then we set that to load game from slot 0. Leslie's system. In categories IO, right? So now we know we're loading Leslie's system, and we know we're priming my system. Now my system doesn't come into activation until the game actually starts, right? Until we get our player physically in the scene, canvas is in there, player is in there, in the start method, then we get all of our players equip, currency, weight, item, all that information. That's done on the start, right? So these are simply values that we're going to look at in our start method in the actual scene itself, right? So this obviously, this holds no weight to anything right now, right? It's something that we're going to be using in our next scene. Quit button does nothing. Obviously, you guys can put your own quit stuff in here. And you can do that. I think it's under flow here. There's an exit game block right there. So, good to go on this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. So we'll go ahead and hop into the load async scene here. So like I said, we have that script in here. So we're solid on that. We already know that since we're starting in the main menu, this one is going to be destroyed because we're coming from the main menu to this scene. So technically, as long as you have one in your main menu, you don't need to have one in each one of your scenes. I simply had this in here because I was prototyping, and obviously if you're prototyping, you don't want to start at the main menu. You want to start, on the scene you're working on. So that's why I have one of these in each one of my scenes. So yeah, back to the canvas. So coming to the load system. So here it's a simple script, and we have 2 methods that we can use, technically 3. We could either use the graphic, and the graphic is simply the progress bar. So as our game loads, and if this is a big scene, your bar is physically going to do this, right? Stop, blah, 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 stop, stop, and it'll go and just load the game, right? Just like you see in any other game. We can use this system, or if we don't like this system, all 3 of these need to be disabled, by the way, at all times. If we don't want to use that one, we could use the counter. Counter is kind of your more standard thing that you'll see in a lot of games, And this is basically your fill, right? So we're loading the game, fill goes up, up, and then we hit 100%. And then it'll also have a nice little percentage indicator. So this percentage will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way to 100%. So that way when we know we're good, then we're solid. So bam, those are two methods you can use. Or if you want to keep these, right? So basically how we have it set up right now is if we have the bool set to don't remove the graphics, right? So we're using our graphic, we have all the links set up, and we don't remove the graphics on complete, this will always be here, right, when our loading is all completed, along with our little button that comes up, which is the completion object. If we have this selected, when we reach 100%, this will be disabled once again, and then only our completion object will be enabled, and its alpha is set to 0 on the start because we run it with an animation. But yeah, that's pretty much just how that works. So if you don't want any, like the dial to get deleted or to get deactivated, or you don't want that little stone to get deactivated, then just keep this bool off. So there's two little methods you can use. I like the graphic just because it looks cooler. But the love to load, we'll just look at this script and it gets the string from it. That's all that does, just so we could have a reference on here. Probably not the most efficient way to do it, but hey, it's easier for my eyeballs when I'm working on it. So that's the load asynchronous script. If you have any questions, let me know. Back to the Ply demo. So now we're actually in our scene. Okay, you'll see there is no player in this game whatsoever. No camera, no nothing. Simply just a GUI, my vendor, some simple, it's that do not destroy on load thing again, and then just my load level test, which is when I press space, right? And this also is going to holds my spawning. So obviously if you guys are using the actors player manager, you guys are using this system, which is how I set the system up for you guys, because I know a lot of you like to use that system. Then you're pretty much just you're gonna want to do it this way, and hopefully you guys are doing it this way, because that's what I built the Ply game version around. So yeah, this is the way you want to do it. On start, spawn player, and it's just set to this position. And then this is just set to, if we press space, then we do the same thing, set it on our load scene to Ply game demo 2. Since we're in Ply game demo 1, we want to go to the second scene. We trigger event save. And this is important because we need to make sure that before we move into the next scene, we need to save the state of our inventory. Now this is my system, right? This is my system. You'll look into my Ply IO test and you'll see that it's working off my manager and my loader, right? So we're triggering event save on the Plybox component inside here. And you'll see that it looks very similar to our load, but with a few variants here, right? You know, obviously see that we're working off the first slot here. But yeah, get into that when we look into the load save. But back on track here. So yeah, for the changing of the scenes here, we just have, when we press space, we set that string, we trigger the save event in our IO manager, and then we load our load async manager. And I already told you guys about that on start. So canvas. From the root, which is the canvas, we simply just have a hide all screens. If you're using screens, this might not work for you, but basically, you know, I just want to make sure all of the scene, the screen management stuff that comes with Ply game is just hidden when I start any of my scenes, right? Negative field is basically just your, think of it as your dead zone, right? So this whole background, this is at the very back of the canvas, right? So basically how this is working, if it's not the inventory, right, and it's just the dead zone, right, which is why this whole thing is called negative field. If I drop any item from my inventory into any of this field and it scales with the screen, it's going to trigger my drop information, right? So we're going to drop the item in the scene, give it its values, take values away from the player, such as weight, etc., and do all that logic. And that's simply just triggered by the bool here, right? So just cover the screen, pretty straightforward. Now the inventory window. Now this is pretty specific to your game, right? You're going to see some stuff that I have in here that might not work for your game, minus the few things like, name or level, currency, weight, stuff that kind of just comes with the system. Mainly level, currency, and weight. But yeah, obviously your game is going to have different values here, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to show you how to do your own stuff. So yeah, basically, let's just open up the blocks, take a look at it, right? So what this is doing, this is on a late update. It's saying if our player has been spawned in our scene, and we always want to have these player is ready checks. We always want to have it if we're spawning the player into the scene, because if we don't, we're going to get a lot of errors, and it's going to cause some problems in all of plyGame. Stuff's just not going to work right? So we need that reference. So once we know that we have the reference, we can then set the level on the window here to the level of the player. And this component is basically, where's this at? Actually, hold on one second. I forgot where I put the reference to. I think it's actually I have it as a hidden public variable inside of the manager script here, and it's working off of the what the current levels of the player. Why did I do this? Let me think. Check level. I think I was working with this with the system for this here. I don't know. I'll get back to you guys on this one. Oh, wait. Oh, yes, that's right. I know it. I know what this is used for. Man, get confused about my own stuff. So yeah, basically what this is doing is in our plyInventory manager, it's setting this hidden int to our player's level. So that way when we have our items in our game, right, and we'll just take a look at an item. Don't worry about the script. We're going to get into it. But if we take a look at maybe this mace, you see that it has a level. And this is a level requirement for the item, right? It's not just a random detail, right? You need to be level 11 to use this item. If an item doesn't have a level requirement, you set that to 0, and it won't show up in the tooltip, right? If it is 1 or more, it's going to show up in the tooltip. So just know that. We'll just keep it as 11. So that's what it's doing. So it's letting our script know what our player's level is, so that way when we run our equip logic and everything, we can take a look at that value. So that's what that is. Sorry about that. Now all this right here is basically just looking at the attributes, and simply put, it's just in my guy here. You're gonna want to set up some attributes, right? So for my guy, obviously I'm going off of Diablo here, so I'm going off of strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy. I set that to my guy here, and I have a bunch of classes that I've made, all with the same attributes. But my guy starts as a sorcerer, so I have health experience, the requirements, and then I have strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy. Base value, max value of 1. And that's going to be important later on. Okay? And then you can see, if I come into our guy here, the prefab, plyInventory, plyPlayer, you'll see that he does have a class of sorcerer. Right? So that's all good. Come out there. Okay, back to the inventory window. And the attribute. Okay. So attributes is basically, since I already know what my attributes are called, I already know what attributes I'm going to have. So I'm going to have strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy in that order. Right? So I'm setting the text on these game objects, right? And these are local variable game objects that I've personally made for me inside of blocks here. So these are linking, as you can see, in my canvas to specific objects. And you'll see these objects are these right here. Strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy, right? So what this is doing is it's setting the text on these things to a plus with a space, I believe. Oh no, just a plus with no space, to what my current consumable value of strength is on my player. Plus, we're going to add some string to it, which is space strength. Now, the reason that this is in caps is because this Diablo type font that I'm using here, which it is free use, that's why I'm including it. But this is, it only works really with caps, which is why all this is in caps. So do know that if you do decide to use this text here, your stuff needs to be in caps, or else it's going to look pretty funky. So that's all this is doing. So for my 4 attributes, that's what that's doing. Now for the name, we are physically setting that to what the name is, and we're transferring it to uppercase to the name variable of our player. So if we go back to our player, you remember that name variable that we made, that's where this is going to come in. So we're going to set it to name, and we're not using screen name on the actor, even though we could technically. We're just going off of this variable because it's easier. I find it for myself, because usually, when I'm writing my own stuff, I'd like to outline everything out just as I do inside here. So this is just for me. If you guys want to do the same way, you can. But yeah, we're just looking at our player, and we're getting that name variable, and then we're setting that to that. And then for the same thing for level, pretty straightforward. To get the level from the player with the space, and then we're also adding in the class of the player. Now this is where the class comes in, as I said, right? So, but we do remember we always have to have class. We have to have class, and that's vital to the items. Weight is we're getting the current weight value from, we're finding the script plyBag manager plus the max weight of plyBag manager plus the string at the end here, weight. Same thing for currency. Current currency, the plyBag with a space, and the current currency of the manager, and the type. So it's going to say, 500. And then the type is the string, which is gold. And you can see that in the bag here, so this is the type. Current currency amount, this is 1,500, is what I just kind of start out with. Then the type is gold. And since we know that the gold here is just uppercase with a lowercase, we just transferred all the uppercase for the sake of my font. Bam! So now we're good on the attributes. Like I said, this is all straightforward. You should already know how to do all this. It's very simple game stuff. So, you can change all this to your game, and it's not going to throw any errors with the system. It's just for visual aid for the actual inventory window here. Now, back to the window here. So the player window interaction. Now, what this is going to do is when we're hovering over our inventory, it's going to set a value of window inside the script, right? So it's in this script here. It's going to set this value window to itself, okay? So, it's going to, I'm sorry, it's not a game, but it's a bool. So it's going to let us know that this window bool is true. So when we're hovering over the window, this bool is going to be true. So that means when we're hovering over the window, we're disabling the control of the player, right? And what this is going to basically do, it's kind of emulating Leslie's ply mouse handled input equals true, I believe is what it's called. It's basically kind of just emulating something along the lines of that, right? So whenever your mouse is inside this window, you can hold the left mouse button and hold the right mouse button, and it won't mess with your camera. It's not going to mess with your player in any way, right? So that's basically what that soft solution is. If you don't want to add it to the script itself, which is very easy if you want to do that. You just look for this bool here. But you'll see this when you play the demo. You'll see that sometimes it can get annoying. So this isn't, the ideal solution. It's just something, I put in there for you guys if you do want that solution. So back to the script here. So current information, don't mess with any of this. It's just for your visual aid, for your eye. Okay? Slot is letting you know what slot you're currently hovering over in the inventory window. Grab slot is letting us know the slot that we've clicked and held on or whatever keybind we have it, and we've drug. That's the grab slot. And then cell mode is letting us know just that. It's letting us know if the cell window is up, let our inventory know we're in cell mode. So if we right click on something or do whatever, we're selling items, not equipping, right? So here is our use item. Now this is going into the rebinding of the keys for items, right? So if I right click on my item, it's going to use it or sell it if we're in cell mode. Very straightforward. This is for the tooltip. All these colors are tooltip related. So if we go into tooltip here, my canvas is scaled to scale with screen size right now, and it's set 1024 by 768, which is not what I have it set to at all. I hope this doesn't mess with anything. If it does, then we'll just change it back. But this should be set to 1600 by 900, and it should be set to expand. Yeah, I think that's gonna. I think that's messing with the whole get up that we have here. That's all right. We'll just leave it 1024 seconds, whatever. Not worried about it. So yeah, so the text is going to look pretty crappy right now. It's just this canvas scaler that we have here. So we'll turn that off for now. So you're going to see here that for the tooltip we have rarity colors, right? So this is like the title of our item, right? And that's going to be to whatever rarity that we set this item to be, which is in the item script. It's going to pull from these colors, right? So these are the rarities that I've given you guys. If you want to add more, feel free. It's all in the script, and I'll write a simple guide on how to do that. Attributes are going to be blue for me. Restrictions are going to be red. Values, which is currency, is going to be gold. Weight is going to be kind of like this reddish brown. Details is going to be gray. And that's that. If you guys are wanting to add more rows to the inventory, it's very simple. Simply go into the rows, select one of my rows, create your own, doesn't matter. Put the slot initialization script on it, give it a proper index, right? Because what we do is we go from row 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 slots in this row. Row 1, row 2, row 3. And we're indexing from 0, of course. So this row is 0, 1, 2, 3. It's all in the script here. So that's how we create rows. Super simple. To create slots, we simply create a slot, add the plyInventory slot script to it. Now, if this is a bagged slot, we set this to none. So it's no type. It's no equip type. We set type of item to none. This is it takes no types of items, right? Take any item. There is no class requirement. Check for this. States, this is basically set at runtime. So if we hover, this is set. Or if it's occupied by an item, this is set. If it's hovered, this is set, right? It's just for your eye. Don't touch these. This reference, something you can touch. It's one image that's inside of the slot itself. And this is what's going to hold the actual graphic for your item, right? So this slot is the overlay. So this is what's going to do your hovering, and then the occupied overlay color, right? This is going to hold the actual item sprite. So that way when we hover over this item, it's still going to have the sprite, but it's going to have like a green overlay. And that's how this system is set up to work. Okay? The ply box for this, nothing right now. But you can add some if you'd like, depending on these values that are here in this item reference, if it's not null, that you can then get values from, because it is reflective of the item script itself. So that's how you set up a slot. Doesn't need to be any name, because this script handles all that for you. What it'll basically do is it'll iterate through each one of the rows, and it'll name itself. So this slot is going to be called slot space 0 underscore 0. And that's how it's set up in the script. If you'd like, you can very well change it. Open up my slot initialization. You'll see here that I named the script. It's .name to equal slot. There's a space there plus row plus underscore plus I, and the I is in the for loop, the current iteration, right? So that's how it's set up. If you want a different naming convention for each slot, which does play into the ply blocks for when you add items to slots, go into this script and rename the naming convention to how you want it. But do know that that does play into it. So if I go into my LOL test, you'll see here that if I press 1, it spells out L. If I press 2, it spells out O. If I press 3, it spells out L. So I might as well just show you guys that while we're here. So let's have this go, do a new game, load it up. We'll actually pause real quick. I'll enable this, come back. So if we open up our inventory here, we press 1, 2, 3. And you'll see it's L, O, and L. So this is simply just showing you the blocks. And I'll go over the blocks in another video. But that's basically what it's doing. It's adding at slot 0, 0, 1, 0. And this is, we're speaking on rows here. So row 0, slot 1, row 1, row 2. So this is row 2, slot 1, row 2, slot 3, row 0, slot 3, row 0, slot 3, row 1, slot 3, row 2, slot 3, and so on and so forth. So it's a very simple system. But let's go ahead and get back into the flow of things here. So the inventory window. If you want more rows, simply come into the slot rows, take my rows, or create your own, like I said, and paste it, right? Now my thing is set up for 4 rows. Do what you need to do for your own stuff. Slot row backs simply is just the backgrounds for all my rows. So you'll see when I remove this, it does remove some graphics from there, just because my slots right now have the same graphic as the backs, just so I can visually see it. But the backgrounds is simply backgrounds. It's just, so you'll see here, background. It's just the backgrounds for my slots, like the frames. And you'll see that they have no scripts, no nothing. It's just backgrounds. So if you want, you can take these images and you can put them, you can take these backs, put them right into the slot, just make another image inside here and set it to back, and then you would probably put it above the item slot. Or actually, you might actually just want to, you would probably make one inside there, but that's a little bit too intricate to show you in this video. Yeah, but basically right now, like I said, this is just functioning as the backdrops for those slots. So obviously whenever you're moving this, obviously these are what's going on here? Okay. I don't know what happened there, but all right. But yeah, basically, you know, when you're moving around in this slot row system here, just move the slot row backs. Oops. The undo's taking forever. Just make sure you move the slot row backs with that. You know, just keep it all organized. But yeah, so that's how that system is working. Oh my God, why is the undo being so crazy today? Just let me refresh this here. Yep, Unity stopped working. Of course it did. All right, well, let me restart Unity and then I'll hopefully we'll run into an issue.